What was a better paid or more profitable job or project? Those you built for MrBeast or those you created for yourself?
In the past year, I've made as much or more than I would have continuing to work at MrBeast at those rates. ThumbnailTest acquisition was the biggest win, I basically sold off all my YouTube tools with it. And now I'm working on a video-first podcast hosting platform. And I'm super hyped. I think it's going to be my biggest win yet.
Your girlfriend is the creator. How do you help her with her activity on YouTube?
She's a fucking powerhouse by herself. She don't need me. She don't need me at all. Yeah, she's just too fucking good at it, man.
You earned money by participating in some NFT projects. Do you have any crypto now or any other assets or investments? Hi there, let me introduce you a guy who has the most amazing description in his storyline on the website. I will be quoting, I was born in New York City in a tiny apartment. My parents then moved to fit my big head. What is this?
Oh, I forgot I wrote that. Oh man. Yeah, I was born in New York. That part's true. I was born in the city, and my family moved out to Long Island because I was the third and final child in the family. And there was not room for 3 kids. So me and my big head, we had to move to Long Island where I grew up. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. To be honest, I didn't know anything about you. Yeah, I only bumped onto your profile maybe 2 months ago, and in your bio was something like, I collaborated with MrBeast or something like that, and I was like, this guy created videos for MrBeast. So I messaged you and you were like, no, I'm a developer. So can you tell more about your connections with MrBeast and your personality?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I've been building YouTube tools on Twitter for like a year and a half, 2 years now, and I was building thumbnailtest.com in public, and I think within like a month or 2 of releasing it, the guy who would be my boss at MrBeast reached out, and he was just like, hey, can I call you? Like a cold Twitter DM, just, hey, can I call you? And I was like, okay, sure. And he calls me, he was like, hey, do you want to work for MrBeast? I said, I don't know, man. I'm kind of doing my founder thing. But we talked for a long time, and we agreed I would do a few months there, see how it goes. So I did a few months there, building like internal tools. So none of the public stuff you see is me. Anything that I built was, just in the company. But yeah, they appreciated kind of just the way I was building, like the way I was thinking, building small, building fast. It's not that common of a thing outside of like indie hacker tech Twitter. So they wanted to work together on, they had an old list of ideas they were sitting on, and seemed like I was the right guy for it. And so we did a few months. It was like some of the hardest work I've ever done. I was coding 12 hours a day in a box, basically, with a nice desk and whiteboard walls, but it was a lot, and I burnt out a little bit afterwards, but it was very fun. I'm glad I did it, and they're all really cool over there, very kind, but very hardworking. So that was my number one takeaway.
Oh, yeah, because the very first question I wanted to ask you was actually a question from John Wesseling, who asked, how do you get someone like MrBeast to notice you or your work and stand out for other developers to get killer clients like MrBeast? Because MrBeast is a name in not only in YouTube, and the internet, the whole internet knows MrBeast, and you are noticed by him. How is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, right? I was noticed by them, not like I didn't reach out, I wasn't exactly like, hello. But I think what's been nice for me is, there's not that many people building tech in the creator space, really, like tools, I'll say. But everybody wants tools, I think. Everybody does want things that makes their lives easier, especially in industries where there isn't a lot of those. So within creator economy, like how many YouTube tools really exist? Like honestly, it might be a double digits number or like low hundreds at most. And compare that to like productivity tools. You know, if you try to count every to-do list out there, you die before you finish the list. So building in a space where you're, you know, a bit more unique, or you're playing a game that not many people are playing, gives you a good opportunity to kind of stand out, because you can pick a problem that is a problem but maybe not that many people care about. So like I picked A/B testing for thumbnails, which had been slightly solved already. Like I pretty much just pulled a feature out of a competitor, which is called TubeBuddy, and I just built my own version of it. But I think because it was me, it was one thing, and it was very loud, you know, and I was like actively responding to feedback. I was talking to people online. Most companies don't have a soul. Most things that get built don't have a soul. So if you can provide a soul and more giving a shit to a problem in public than anyone else can, it adds up. So like when I was Twitch streaming myself coding for like 3 years, you know, I was very loud, obviously, because I'm all over the internet for like 8 hours a day, just live streaming, and then I'm tweeting about it. So it made it very easy for people to find me if you were on that corner of the internet. And then eventually I started talking on the YouTube, Twitter. So I think it's a combination of, you know, pick an industry where you're actually like doing something. If you're just interested in creators, you can just build for creators, but just don't do like some default AI YouTube tool. There's too many of them. You're not going to get anywhere. Like pick something interesting, or do what I did. Pick one of the tools on like a TubeBuddy or a vidIQ and just break it out and make it better. And then be loud and proud about it without being annoying. Like just tweet about your journey, tweet about your experience. You know, maybe Twitch stream. That one was kind of out there, but you know, The nice part of platforms like that is just like if you're loud, the world will. The right people will find you, you know?
Yeah, I see. Because then I noticed that you twitched. I don't know if you started with twitching and then with YouTube, or what was the journey like?
Yeah, so I did. I streamed on Twitch for like 3 years probably, or a few years at least. I think I started in COVID. So like middle of COVID, like August 2020, I want to say. And I was probably streaming until like really consistently until like early 2023-ish. It's like 2.5, 3 years. But yeah, that was the first thing I did because I got really depressed at my first startup and I left. I moved to Thailand and I was Twitch streaming during that first startup during COVID. So it was first startup, then COVID happens, and then the overlap. I started Twitch streaming to stay productive in my house at COVID because I hate working from home. I'm so unproductive from home. So I was like, I'm on Twitch stream so people watch me code and then maybe I'll be productive. And so I did that. That worked okay. And then when I left the company, I ended up just keep streaming and I got more onto the Twitter and more onto the building in public. And that, I mean, really I don't think I'd be where I am without the Twitch stuff for sure. Like I kind of owe the whole life I have now to that one random day I decided to go live on Twitch, and then I got rated by Prime a few days later. So it's one for the history books for me.
Maybe I would like to ask you several questions about MrBeast if you had a chance to speak with him in person.
Yeah, no, I mean we talked a few times. We played a lot of board games. We probably played board games together like once a week. There's a lot of board games over there. They go ham on board games. It's pretty fun. So if they're not traveling and everything, then it's like, all right, boys, who's around? let's get a crew going. A bunch of times. But you know, I didn't have like a ton of deep conversations with him. I was mostly working with my boss, Chucky, at the time. But yeah, like I said, they're great people over there. It's a really great operation. But the scale of it is pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. And what have you learned thanks to these projects in terms of web development, but also video and content creation?
I think the biggest content creators are not relatable, like at all. You know, when you get to like really, really big creators, it's just like they all have different problems, you know? In the same way billionaires have different problems than your average human. But like a creator with 100,000 subscribers, like barely relates to, on an execution level, really doesn't relate very much to MrBeast in the way that they do things. At the end of the day, it all still boils down to shared title, thumbnail, idea, editing, right? And those things will always be consistent. But like the stuff I built when I was at MrBeast was just such specific problems that every time we built the tool, I was like, man, I cannot imagine this ever being needed by anybody else, because it's like, oh yeah, we just need something for like our 15 thumbnail designers to use, you know? It's like, well, no one else has 15, you know? Like, that's just like some problems you get at scale that you really don't get otherwise. So, you know, when I look at the market and I decided like who to target, I knew I didn't want to target beginners, but I also knew it wasn't a great idea to try and target all the way at the top. Like if you go for the absolute top level creators, 9 out of 10 times they're just going to hire someone instead of using tools. But if you go just below top level, like that 1 to sort of 5 million range, even like 10 or 15, like basically anybody who's not like the top 10 or 20 on YouTube, then they really care about the tools again. They're relatable. A lot of the time you can have a 10 million subscriber channel, a 5 million subscriber channel with like a team of 3 people. And that's much more relatable. They're going to be much more enabled by tools. So it really helped me decide what part of the market I wanted to focus on, which is kind of like part of where this next project that I'm working on is coming in.
Mm-hmm. This is not a question from myself, but from one member of the community. What was a better paid or more profitable job or project? Those you built for MrBeast or those you created for yourself? Or can you share some stats or approximate amounts, like percentage?
Interesting. So, I mean, I'll put it this way. If I had worked at Facebook for the past 4 years, I'd have made more money in aggregate, for sure. Like, I was working at Facebook as an intern, and I could have gone full-time in, like, I don't know, 2019, I think? 2020, maybe? And so if I had worked at Facebook for, what would it be now, like 4 years, I'd have made, like, I don't know, the intro salary is probably like 150. By now, I'd be probably making 200. Let's say somewhere between 600 and 700K by now in just salary. Have I made 600 or 700K in the past 4 years? It's close, but not that close. I would probably say I made less than $500,000 in aggregate, but it's probably in the past 4 years. Well, I guess, yeah, it's hard to do the math. I would say it's close, but that's only if you're comparing to FANG. If you compare to a non-FANG job, I think I've at least gotten even, or I've done better. If you compare to a FANG job, I think, all right, I would have, yeah, working at Facebook would have gotten a little bit better numbers so far. But, you know, I made really good money in MrBeast. They paid me very well for my time. They were very, very, very kind with that because I was running other businesses. So they were understanding of that for those 3 months. But in the past year, I've made as much or more than I would have continuing to work at MrBeast at those rates. So I can at least say that much. So for my first few years of indie hacking, I would say a job definitely would have been more profitable. At this moment, acquisition-wise, MRR-wise, and everything, having just sold ThumbnailTest, I am just past the breaking point where I think now I'm looking at probably I'm making a good amount more. And by the next time I get acquired, you know, it's hopefully millions instead of, you know, 6 figures. So if that happens, then easy yes. So it's a tough ask, but I think if you knew all the exact numbers, I think you'd be pretty, and you were able to hit the numbers I've hit, I think you'd be pretty happy. Like, I'm not sad with those numbers. Do I want to have achieved so much more? Yes. But I'm pretty on par with, I would say, a lot of jobs. But software pays too much. So yeah. There's, you know, depending on what company you're talking about, yeah, man, I could have just worked at Facebook. I could have worked at Facebook way less hard, and I'd be fine. But hey, I'd probably have gotten hit by those layoffs, I'll be real.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is actually a good person who pays money. Well,
say a lot about him, but goddamn does he pay.
Yeah. How many hours per day you usually work?
It's varied. I mean, the honest answer is now, not a lot. Like, early days, I would probably work, like, 8-hour days, but, like, 7 days a week. Some days as little as 5 or 6, but, again, like, every day. And, like, you can literally check my old Twitch streams. Like, the VODs are probably still there of, like, you know, it's just day after day of, like, 6-hour, 8-hour streams. So however long I was live is pretty much how much I was working, or, you know, 80%. These days, like with Thumbnail Test, I had hired this absolute legend, Opti, who really earnestly was running 80+% of the business. He was doing all of the support and all of the dev, unless we had to build something like really, really, really big. So I was honestly working like 5 hours, 10 hours a week on Thumbnail Test, maybe, for like 6 or 9 months at the end. And then I was just spending all my time on like making up new shit, trying new ideas, cutting deals. So I've never, well, outside of like when I was really doing the Twitch streaming, I've never been a super like work 80-hour weeks, except for at MrBeast. MrBeast I was doing that because I had to. But it's very rare that I really work, you know, fucking 10, 12-hour days. Like genuinely no bullshit, 10, 12-hour days, very rare. Like 8-hour days, honestly, even kind of rare. I would probably say I average like a 5 to 6 hours because I think I kind of burnt out on coding. So these days, handful of hours a day, but I'll put it this way. I do 1 week of work and it's a 20-hour week, and then the next week is like a 60-hour week.
Oh.
And the next week's 20 hours, and the next week's 60 hours. And that's kind of the cadence that I go with. And that's kind of the cadence the people who work for me go with. Where it's like, yeah, you know, we don't have that much to do right now. Like, we're just waiting for people to apply to this job I posted. So, you know, I'll be reading through the applications, but it's not crazy. And then it's like, okay, we're doing interviews. And now I'm reading 1,000 pages of applications. Okay, that's a 60-hour week, you know? So it really varies. But I'll say in the early days, you got to work harder. The farther you get into it, you can start to hire people, you can start to slow down, life gets a little bit easier. But early days, yeah, 50, 60-hour weeks. Craziest weeks, 70, 80 hours. But these days, you know, 20, 30 most weeks, and then like 50, 60 on a tough week. But that's just because I'm not doing the coding now. When I was engineering, it took a lot more time.
Oh, wow, I'm speechless. Well, you mentioned in the videocast, I think it was the Dogpod, or Dogpod, I think it's called. That you and MrBeast had considered co-founding the company. Can you share more details about this idea?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much on that, but like the basic idea was, you know, they're putting out some software right now, and I had said to them like, hey, if you guys want to like co-found this, I'm potentially down, because I said I don't want to ever be an employee, but if we're co-founding a company, like I'll do the 3 months and then let's decide where we're at. And basically at the end of 3 months, they weren't ready to take the jump into software because they were like really focused on the channels, as they should be, and I didn't want to sit and wait. Because they couldn't guarantee that they were going to do software in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months. It could have been 3 years before they were ready to build a software company. And I didn't want to just sit there working as an employee, waiting on someone else for my dreams to be unlocked. Mm-hmm. You know, even the greatest people in the world, you can't put your, you know, and for me, there's a lot I could do in this life. You know, obviously, like I've gotten acquired already once. I think I can get acquired again. Multiple times maybe if I'm lucky, and measuring that against, you know, just being an employee and coding all day at MrBeast was like, yeah, you know, that's not what I want. So it was very much just like that wasn't their priority at the moment. Like they weren't trying to go run software as a company. And honestly, I've learned this about working with creators. Like you just have so much leverage. Like they're doing great without me. They don't need me there. You know, you can, when you have a really great creator and you can bring people in who are going to learn a lot, there's a lot that you can really hire amazing people without breaking the bank. And for sure, I am amazing people, but I also super break the bank. So, you know, I think they made totally the right call, and it's all love there. I mean, I still talk to my old boss, like the guys over there, like probably a couple times a month. So it's a really good relationship. But yeah, it was very much just like, yeah, not the right time, right place for that one. But it's like a year later now, and they've started to release some of the free tools, and they got maybe some other stuff coming down the pipeline, depending on how things go. So I'm hyped to see them doing it, and honestly, I'm happy with how everything went, because like I said, in the past year, selling my company, I've made more, and so that's like a huge win for me personally. So I feel really good about where I'm at, and like I'm so happy to see them actually chasing after it, and I know they're gonna fucking crush it over there.
Can you name projects you have been working on?
So the two biggest ones, well, okay, the first thing I ever put out was clipbot.tv. I sold that for like parts. I sold it for like $4,000. And it was like sitting at $500 MRR for like 3 years or something. Not 3 years, maybe 2 years. And I hated it. It was just turning Twitch clips into TikToks and YouTube shorts. That was my first ever thing. That was like how I got into indie hacking. Then I started building ThumbnailTest. ThumbnailTest, the A/B testing for YouTube thumbnails. That was by far my biggest success. It got acquired 18 months after I built it. MRR was, low 5 digits, like somewhere between 10 and 20K MRR, we'll say, within that range. And that got acquired for low 6 figures, which closed in early February. So that's like just a few months old. And with that, I put out something called Backlog Boost, which would like create AI titles for your old YouTube videos and then swap it out every day through ThumbnailTest and like see if you could get more views without ever doing anything. I built a lot of little things throughout in between, but the ThumbnailTest acquisition was the biggest win, which I basically sold off all my YouTube tools with it, and that's got my rent paid for the next few years, honestly. So I'm very lucky, sitting pretty on that, and now I am working on a video-first podcasting platform, podcast hosting platform. So that doesn't have a name yet. It doesn't have any code yet. So far, I just got some designs, and I'm hiring some people, and I'm partnering with a big creator on that one, and I'm super hyped. I think it's going to be my biggest win yet.
Yeah, I've seen your post that hiring is fucking hard. Yeah.
So hard, dude. So tough.
Yeah. You mentioned ThumbnailTest. On what principle does this tool work?
So like, I mean, A/B testing is A/B testing, right? It's just like you swap out the thumbnail, see which ones get more clicks. That's pretty basic, like logic-wise. The idea for the business came from TubeBuddy, which is like a suite of tools. It's like 15 or 20 YouTube tools. And many people would buy TubeBuddy at the most expensive plan, which is like 30, 40 bucks a month, maybe 50, depending on what country you're in, it's different. And they would buy this whole suite of like 10 or 20 tools just to use the A/B testing. And I was like, oh, that seems silly. I could build that thing in like 30 days. So why don't I just build that thing, charge half the price for it, I'll call it 20 bucks a month, 19, and we'll ship that and see if it works. And so I shipped it, and then I started tweeting. I like DM'd my handful of friends from the Twitch community who had YouTube channels. I started DMing some YouTubers, got a few people, got like a consultant guy. He said it to a few friends, and it was a really slow growth over time. But yeah, the premise of just kind of going deep on that one problem of A/B testing, eventually adding hourly A/B testing, building a Chrome extension, like all of these things to say like, well, I know people really give a shit about this one tool, so I'm just going to double and triple down on this one tool. Really, really worked well. And I was very lucky that I happened to pick well. It took a long time before it was like making good money though. So I was trying to live off of it when it was making not enough money. And I actually hired my friend very early because I hired him while I was working at MrBeast to kind of like take over it for a few months. The legend Opti again, who ended up like fucking carrying the project for a lot of the time. So for a long time, I was pulling like $0 of profit out of it, or I was like burning my savings from MrBeast on keeping it running. So it was very interesting, but it took probably like, I would say I sold it at month 18. I think until month 15, I was not really able to pay him and my rent until like month 15 on it. So it was a very slow build, but the premise was there. Like the people who used it loved it. It was built well, and I think just like going deep really, really, really helped. So that when the time came and a lot of eyes were on it, finally, people bought and people stayed, and the retention was good. Lifetime value was like $100 per customer, so it was really, really solid. I was very happy with it.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember how did you get the first paying customer?
Yeah, that was from my Twitch friends. So I had friends on Twitch who were streamers who also had YouTube channels. And, we weren't all super deep in YouTube back then. We got deeper on YouTube, but we would have discussions because we were streamers first about like what to do on YouTube. And so I pitched this sort of A/B testing thing. And I was like, hey, would you PayPal me $20 for this? Like, PayPal me $20 and I'll give you access to it. Because I didn't even have Stripe or anything integrated. And I got like maybe 5 people that I knew or adjacently knew to pay me for it. And then I started tweeting about it. And luckily, because I'd been Twitch streaming for like a couple of years at that point, or like maybe a year at that point, I had some Twitter followers. And so I was able to tweet and like get a handful more people. And that was how I got like the first probably like 5 or 10, maybe 15, 20. Was like hand-to-hand combat, tweets, like kind of everything there. Just one-offs. You could put in a credit card. You had to just straight up PayPal me $20. It was very funny at the time.
Did you have any marketing strategy or it was random?
I was just tweeting. I was tweeting like, hey, does anybody want this? Like, hey, PayPal me $20 and I'll give you access to my A/B testing thing. And like, you know, you do all like the different deals. Like, if it doesn't work for you, I'll refund you. I'll look feedback, this and that, you know. And then I made an affiliate program very, very quickly because I had heard that affiliates were like the #1 source of marketing for creator-based companies. So affiliates ended up being my #1 thing across the board, which is unique mostly to creator economy as far as I know. But it still works in other places, obviously. But yeah, so affiliates were my #1, and people making videos about me in the long run was the thing. So like I would basically get affiliates who were YouTubers, obviously, and they would, some of them once in a while would make a video like, hey, you guys should try ThumbnailTest, I use it. And that would like drive, you know, 50 fucking customers, like 100 customers if that video came out and it was on the right channel. And eventually one of those videos came out and it straight up doubled my business. Shout out Marcus from Grow Your Gaming channel. So that was the thing that worked, which from day one, I was like, I think if I build a creator economy, I shouldn't have to worry about marketing because eventually my customers will do it, which was true. It just took a year and a half before that happened.
Oh my God. And at what price did you sell the tool? Can you share approximate price or figures?
Like for the acquisition or like?
Yeah, acquisition.
I'll say low 6 figures. I can say low 6 figures, like low to mid, depending on what happens. I can say I sold it for a certain amount, and then I get a bit extra if the business keeps growing. So depending on that, that's where I land within low to mid. But low to mid 6 figures is what I think I'm allowed to say. I gotta check with my lawyer.
Yeah. What attributes should have a good thumbnail?
Oh God, dude. Listen, that's a long conversation. That's so long. Here's what you're gonna do. You go to YouTube. You're gonna search how to make a killer thumbnail. And a video by Aprilynne Alter is gonna come up, and you're gonna watch that video by Aprilynne Alter. Don't watch a video by anybody else. Watch the Aprilynne Alter one first. And that'll give you everything that you need. If you really want to know the answer to that question, it takes a while to figure out. She got like a whole framework. But there's curiosity, you know, it helps to contrast, like all these things. But you really want to understand the psychology. So the #1 thing I'll say that most people don't know is curiosity caps. You want to give people a question in their mind a little bit, and they want to click to find out the answer. That's like most of the time. That's the basics of it. And there's so much, but just go watch that video.
Yeah, that's a good sharing. Thanks. You twitched and you have also experience with YouTube. And how do these platforms differ from each other?
Oh, it's so different. Yeah, I mean, live streaming and, you know, recorded content are just 2 completely different beasts. Live streaming, I think, is kind of more personality-based usually, or like you do live events, which are very fun. There's a big difference between like watching a video and like something that you're experiencing in the moment with other people. Like Twitch is closer to going to a concert, and YouTube is closer to listening to music on Spotify. You know, it's just so different, the level of experience. And you can live stream on YouTube, it's not as good. But a lot of people will multi-stream, just, you know, more viewers. And you're allowed to do that now. But yeah, it's very much like if you're going to live stream and you're only going to live stream one place, you probably want to do it on Twitch. If you're going to do recorded content with like editing, you're going to want it on YouTube. Because it's hard to get discovered on Twitch, easy to get discovered on YouTube relatively. Yeah.
And do you think that Twitch have a chance to survive, or will YouTube burden it? Because YouTube is the huge platform and Twitch is somehow a little bit, I don't know what should I think about this platform.
I think in the long term, YouTube might eat Twitch, or like eat Twitch's lunch enough. Right now, the YouTube live streaming experience is like significantly worse than Twitch, and they're slowly building it up. But YouTube also, you know, there's a lot of things YouTube could do that they don't do. There's a lot. Excuse me. There's a lot of options that YouTube has. Like they could build Snapchat stories and stuff, but like they've chosen not to. Or, well, they kind of did, but they got rid of it or whatever. But I think YouTube is overall a better platform in the long run because the fans stay and they subscribe and they can get recorded content, and that's like much more of a long-term commitment. But Twitch is so much more powerful than people give it credit for. It's like the highest revenue per viewer of any platform that exists. It's like on average, if you have like 8K viewers on Twitch, you're gonna make so much more than getting 8K views on a video, like in aggregate, because of like the subscriptions and donations and everything. It's just so meaningfully different. So until YouTube gets to the point of like having a Twitch level experience and community around live streaming, which it'll probably happen eventually, but it'll be so long before that really takes over. I don't think Twitch is going anywhere, but I do think like we're seeing a very slow decline of Twitch as a platform a little bit in some ways, but in other ways it's also growing. So it's really hard to say. But I think YouTube's going to get better, and I think some people will stream to YouTube. But honestly, we might see multi-streaming take over. So it's just hard to say, man. It can really go either way. But I don't think Twitch is like dying. I think Twitch, if you're on Twitch, you know that like the experience is so good and the community is so good that it's tough to take that over. But it's also impossible to know how long that lasts.
Mm-hmm. What would you advise to people who want to start with creating videos?
Oh man, just start. Usually the biggest thing holding you back is just actually putting content out and not all of the knowing and everything. Just get used to putting a few videos out before you do anything. Like don't try to be happy with the first few videos. Just try and publish them and be brave enough to not take it down, you know? And once you can do that, then just try and improve one thing per video. Like, okay, I'm going to make the editing better. Okay, I'm going to make a better thumbnail. Okay, I'm going to make a better title. If you can understand thumbnails and titles well enough, and like video ideas well enough, then you'll be really off to the races. There's a lot of good courses. There's a lot of good videos. You know, again, watch everything by Aprilynne Alter. But, you know, there's... most people fail by giving up, not by being bad. So focus on growing the muscle that means you won't give up. And then spend time not being bad.
Okay, creating videos, it's one part. The second part is monetizing. What would you advise to people who want to monetize their content?
Ooh, super depends on what kind of content you do. Like Overanalyzing Avatar is a really nice YouTube channel, and they like that dude is just like crushing it on Patreon. Because all patrons get videos early and they get like a shout out at the end of the video, and dude's like he might even be living off of it. I don't actually know, but it's close. Like he could be making a full-time salary off of that if you do the napkin math. So like Patreon works if you have a Patreon like community. If you have people who are, you know, deep. Most people with sponsorships, depending on niche, you could pull off ad revenue. So it just super depends. If you're educational, courses and coaching are classics. The dream is you build your own products. You know, like you build your own software and stuff, which you know, hit up your boy. But it's it really depends. It's just so dependent on what type of creator you are. But I think kind of look at, you know, do you feel like you should be selling education? Do you feel like you can be selling like membership / you know, like hype or like early access to things? Or do you feel like, you know, you can be helping people along their journey in a non-educational way with like some kind of product, and like you could build a little bit of software or something for them, or hire someone to build a little bit of software for them? There's so many options. I don't know. Just don't think you're gonna make life like you're not gonna pay your bills on merch. You know, that's the real thing to take home. When you're not gonna sell shirts and then get yourself there 99% of the time. So I get a little more creative than that for sure. But there are a lot of small creators who do live off of it. And it's usually through Patreon type stuff or like subscriptions on Twitch type thing, or just, you know, sponsors and affiliate links. It really, really depends. It changes throughout the scale, but take all those options and try and figure out where you think you get the most output.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what should people do in the process of creating a video to make it better performing or attention grabbing? Because you mentioned thumbnails. What other attributes they can improve?
Probably make the video shorter than you think it should be. And watch Aprilynne Alter's video on how to make a killer YouTube intro. It's really, really good. And then I'll tell you how to do the first 30 seconds. That's probably the most important thing, is like the most 30 seconds, or the first 30 seconds. And yeah, I mean, there's, again, it so depends on the video, how you like story tell and everything. But I'd basically say the basics of like, keep giving people a reason to watch and give people a reason to want to watch further. That's why you'll often see things like, wait until the end for the super cool thing to happen. You're like, you'll never believe option number 5. It's so that you watch until option number 5. So like take those like BuzzFeed level kind of cringy concepts and then make them into, you know, not cringy story beats, or kind of try and structure the video again into like little chunks that give people a reason to keep wanting to see something, or break it up. Because if you don't have enough there, it's hard to do 30 minutes on one basic thing if you don't constantly change it up a little bit. You know, like, not to use MrBeast as an example, but in all of his videos, every few minutes, something's changing, or they're adding some challenge or some goal or some task. Even on the more chill videos, like surviving on an island, it's like, we're gonna climb this mountain because like gotta do something. Yeah, gotta change it up for the next 3 minutes. So they'll change it up for the next 3 minutes, and then they get down the mountain, and it's like, all right, we're gonna go find coconuts. Yeah, and that's your next 3 minutes. So try and think of your videos like that a little bit. Not all videos will fit that framework, but giving people a reason to keep watching as opposed to just a reason to click is I think like a very core concept.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that we covered this topic about YouTube and content creation, and maybe I try something general. During your stay in Thailand in 2021, you earned money by participating in some NFT projects. What do you think that is the future of these assets?
Yeah, I mean, for like a month, all my friends got really into crypto. I tried. I couldn't really get super into it. I tried building software for it, because at the time it was like right after Clipbot was failing. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll make some like analysis tool that's like stocks, but for like crypto stuff and like NFT crap. So I never really got very into like the actual deep like buying and selling and everything. I never really got into like trading or the speculation of anything. I was like, all right, if everybody's hyped about a thing and I build some software that helps you like do math, then I can feel okay about it. And I tried. I made like maybe $2,000 selling licenses to the software I built, and then I pretty much hopped out. Like it was such a short stint, and I honestly was like, I ended up refunding like half the money, I think, to a few of the people, because by the end it was kind of just like, you know, no one's really using it and everybody got unhyped on it. So yeah, for those 30 days, it was interesting, but I wasn't very. I don't know. I'm not deeply in love for it. I tried to be, man. I really tried to care. I couldn't do it. So I'm not super bullish on it. There's cool concepts in there. There's interesting tech. Eventually there'll be things, but I think in general, like the winning condition should not be the tech behind the product. It should be the product. You know, it shouldn't matter that the thing uses AI or not. It should matter that the thing achieves the goal, ideally. You know, it shouldn't matter if the thing uses crypto or not. It should matter that the thing achieves a goal and achieves it better. And if you can do that, you always win. So I think there are some use cases where it's good. I think 99% of it is kind of garbo and not very interesting for most of the time. But there is 1% in there that's neat. But yeah, I gave up. I'm not even. a 10-foot pole away from all that stuff now. Like, and I didn't even have money at the time, so I was like, investing a ton, moving around a bunch of money. I had like $1,000 to my name. I was in the middle of Thailand. It was like I wasn't playing anything interesting.
Yeah. And do you have any crypto now, or any other assets or investments?
No. I don't think I ever bought. The only crypto I own is crypto I got paid in. So I maybe have like $1,000 worth of something somewhere in some wallet I forgot about. I haven't been able to log in my MetaMask for a year and a half. But somewhere in there, it's probably there. But that was only because at the time, generally when you sell things in the crypto market, you get paid in crypto. So I think I have like some ETH somewhere. And then on Coinbase, I did all of like I clicked all the buttons and took the little courses to get the free Bitcoin and shit, which that was like $20 a couple years ago, and it became like $600 recently. So I used that to pay some guy who couldn't use PayPal. So that's about all the crypto I got is a meme and crypto people have sent me.
Your girlfriend is the creator too. And how do you help her with her activity on YouTube?
Ooh, barely. She's a fucking powerhouse by herself. Like, honestly, I don't do, like, I contribute maybe, like, once in a while I give a little bit of feedback, just in the same way she asks her friends for feedback. But I would say, like, she's so far beyond anything I could ever help with. Like, she's just so good at what she does. She's put so much thought and so much research into stuff. Usually, like, the only way I can help is at the same level as like her friends who are YouTubers, which is like sometimes we'll run through a script together and, cut some parts out or add some parts or like try and make things a little bit more succinct if we feel like it doesn't line up. But like, she don't need me. She don't need me at all. She, if I'm not there, she's doing just fine. I would not say I am a part of her process. I would say once in a while, I'm lucky enough to be involved for 10 seconds. As a friend at that level. Yeah, she's just too fucking good at it, man.
Wow. How did you both meet?
Twitter.
Oh. Okay, so you messaged her, "Hi, I want to meet," or what was like it?
No, this is a good, yeah. So she was trying to figure out what to charge for sponsors, and I was helping some friends with sponsorships at the time for like a potential, like, one of the many projects I worked on for like a month and a half that died, and it was I was like, I have some data like I can share. Or no, actually, a friend of us, a mutual friend, said, you should talk to Rox. He has some data he can share. And then I was like, hey, yeah, I'm happy to chat. And she DM'd me, and we got to talking. And then I think that was like during the month I was trying out some crypto stuff as well. And she at the time was also looking into crypto stuff, and so she was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, this crypto stuff's kind of like sucks and is like lonely and people aren't really nice. And I was like, well, if you want to be friends with somebody who doesn't suck and is in the same, thing right now, or is at least like looking into it, I'm happy to be friends. And then we like talked on Discord for like 8 hours by accident, and then the rest is history. We just started dating 2 months ago, so we're doing pretty good. We've lived together the entire time.
Oh yeah. Well, and do you work or plan to work on some projects together in the future, or just only relationship?
We messed around with some stuff here and there. We've definitely talked about it and we've thought about it here and there, but it hasn't really lined up, honestly. It's and also, she's not trying to run a whole ass product right now. But we did this thing. I'd be amazed if anybody remembered it. It was called Bird Buds, and we tried to do like the little friendship matching for Twitter, but that was before the Twitter API cost $40,000, and so back when it was free. So we did that together, and that was like going to be our fun little like together project. And then Elon killed that shit. So we gave up pretty fast. But I don't know, like one day, definitely maybe, but for now, for the near term, almost definitely not. Like, she put ThumbnailTest in one of her videos. Like, that was kind of the level to which we were going with it. Little things like that. But maybe eventually. We've definitely had some conversations about it, but we're in no rush. We probably got our whole lives together, so we got time.
Okay, I see. Do you have any plans for the future?
Podcasting, video first podcast hosting platform. That's my new thing. I'm putting my soul into that, and I am so hyped on that.
And can you share a little bit details about it?
Yeah, so I mean, basically a lot of the new podcasts that are doing well are YouTube first. Like their main platform is YouTube. So, I ended up talking to some people, like Diary of a CEO is one of my customers on ThumbnailTest, right? And they have like 5 million on YouTube, and I think it was shown that they had or I don't actually know what they have on Spotify. But it's, I think YouTube is their first platform and Spotify is like their second by followers, which is really interesting because like for a podcast, usually it's almost always the other way around. So there's kind of this new wave of video podcasts being the main thing. And I say new wave, I'm like years late to this. But most of the hosting software, most of the software in general is not really built with video in mind. It's built with audio in mind and video as an afterthought. So there's these ideas of like, well, what if we can put all the analytics together? What if we can make it like easier to upload your videos in this way? What kinds of things can we do to start to make the video podcast experience easier from hosting all the way to whatever else, but mostly just hosting. So it seems like there's some easy wins to be had there, and some fun experiments to run. And, I just posting that I wanted to do video first podcast hosting, I already had people DMing me from like some YouTube friends who were like, bro, whatever it is, put me in. Like I'm there. So that was really cool. That was very validating for just the raw concept. So I feel like it's really nice because I have a lot of like the good connections in that space. And I know podcasting is like really high ticket. So, I was talking earlier about like, $20 a month for ThumbnailTest. I think I can build something that's going to be $100, maybe a few $100s a month for podcasting and have that be such an easy decision for people who are making, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from their podcast kind of thing. So that's sort of how I'm thinking about it. That's the area of the industry I want to focus on. And that's why I'm pretty hyped on it because I have a little bit of that network already.
And do you have any favorite creators? Maybe not only in podcasting, but in general?
Michelle Curray, 100%, legendary. Everything from Dropout, which is not all on YouTube these days, but everything from dropout.tv, just the best. I watch all of Dimension 20. I've seen like nearly every season of it, of hundreds of hours of content from them. Michelle Curray, I think, is just like probably the most inspirational. I got a lot of love for Max Fosh, very similar. He's just like so funny. Michelle Curray makes me want to live a better life, like makes me want to take more adventures. Max Fosh makes me want to go on more silly adventures, and be just an idiot in the most fun possible ways, which I think is just amazing. That's like so my vibe. And then I think Dimension 20 is just pure enjoyment. For just entertainment, I watch a lot of like the Mario Odyssey people. I watch like Fur, Smallhand, CJ, all those guys, and watch a lot of Magic the Noah for again just absolutely silly, hilarious, like nonsense made up board games and shit. So I watch a lot of content these days actually, and I'm liking a lot of it. But I would say and Michelle Curray's got to be the number one.
Yeah, and do you watch something from MrBeast?
Yeah, I still watch every MrBeast video. Yeah, I've seen all of them up to this point.
Wow, he creates a lot of content, so it has to be time consuming.
They take a while to edit, so they come out pretty slow. It's not that frequent relative to some other people. I don't watch anybody who uploads daily. I'll say that. I'm watching people who upload like maybe a couple videos a month, so it adds up that I have like something to watch while I eat every day.
Yeah. Well, we are almost at the end of this episode, which is on YouTube. Do you have any inspirational speech or some motivational speech?
Hell yeah! What kind of people are listening? Give me a sense. Is this like, are we looking at people who want to start businesses? We're looking at content creators. We're looking at
something like that. Business, marketing, software as service. Feel free.
all right, listen up. Just do it. Just do something. It truly does not matter what the thing is. You just got to do something. If you do anything, everything will get better. Do things and do things loud. That's all that matters. Like, do the crappiest thing you can imagine. My first app, I built an Electron app using raw CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. I spent 5 months on it. I never even used a framework. I didn't like React. I didn't know what React was. I didn't want to mess with it. I don't want to touch it. And I still was able to get a few $100s in MRR off of that, off of a good Reddit post, just making it up. You don't have to know how to do stuff. Nobody knows how to do stuff. I'm hiring right now, and at the end of every tweet where I talk about hiring, I say, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Please don't cancel me. And it's fine. It's going good, and you just got to try stuff. Like, the number one thing you got to do is just get off zero, ship anything to the world. But whatever you do, don't do it alone or don't do it quietly. If you make a bunch of shit and nobody ever hears about it, it's a tree falling in the woods. Nobody's going to hear the sound. Like, even if you just tweet, even if you go reply to some big guy's Twitter and you're like, hey, just so you know, I built some shit for this. Like, all it takes, one good tweet, one good random email, one good, like, short or TikTok or whatever, your whole life could change in 24 hours. It's happened to me multiple times, just completely randomly, off of random tweets that I put out. Just like, billionaires have messaged me, you know? Like, just, what do you do? You know? It's, life gets pretty crazy if you put yourself out there and do cool shit. And that's only 2 things. Just put yourself out there and do cool shit. And you can do 2 things. You're more than capable as a human of doing 2 things. So, however many hours you have, however much time, make some cool shit, put it out into the world, and try really hard to get people to know about it. That's it. If you can do that, everything else will come.
Okay, this is cool. Thank you very much for your for sharing your learnings and experiences. I appreciate your time for being in this videocast, and would like to ask people to comment it, like it, or subscribe to the channel. And thank you very much. And what did you take from that experience when you worked at Facebook and Microsoft?
Easy. You just sit around, you like code for like 30 hours a week, you eat food and free snacks for the other 10 hours, and then you go home and like you make hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's so silly. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. There'll always be a job for you. So the risk is not turning down the job. The risk is wasting your time on the backup plan when you could be wasting your time on like the dream.
Do you sometimes struggle with self-impostor syndrome?